Hey, how's it going? Guess what? It's time to make a glass marble. Wednesday night, demo night. Just taping my lens filter. There we go. Alright, so I'm George from Pavliscak Studios, and we're going to be making a glass marble from ready glass rods on a propane oxygen torch. Whoa, look at that. There's our propane. There's our oxygen. Let's tilt that down just a hair. Nice. Alright. Well, I want to make a flower, but I want to make it purple. And I want it to be a delicate purple, so let's make our purple sort of semi-transparent over a white base. So I'm doing prep right now for my flower, and what it's going to be is very small and delicate. And we're going to have it floating all on its own in the marble. A lot of times I like to put like a backdrop or sort of a place where the flower sits. A little piece of grass or a little stand, something that accents the color and shows it off, and then gives me a place on the back to sign my name or do a little complimentary design. This time we're not going to do that because we want the flower to be all on its own. So just be the flower in the marble and nothing else. Because what's going to happen is that this flower is going to either be a marble on its own, but it might later become a part of a group of marbles, and we'll make it round and marble shaped just for fun. What I'll normally do with these marbles that I want floating is I will make them sort of into cubes. But this time I just want to make a purple flower, so let's do that. We've got this purple transparent, and I've got myself a little gather of white on the end of a steel rod, which is my handle for keeping the white all corralled in one spot. If I had just a white rod and I was coating the white rod, at some point that purple is going to become white, and there's going to be a part in between that is going to be waste or messy that I can't use. So I'm just minimizing that by getting all my white base glass attached to a handle. Now I'm doing some little swipe gathers of transparent purple over the white. A couple of those. And it's just sort of a blob looking thing right now, but what we do have is an even cover of purple over this white. Now we're going to let it all fuse and melt together into a blob. Gather. Even up its shape. We're going to pull it out into a thread that we're going to draw with. The drawing we're going to do here is just dots. It's going to be a cross-section of a flower on a clear disc. Let's how our flower is going to bloom from that disc. So we're heating the glass between two steel rods right now. Let's get a little bit hotter. I'm going to get it so hot that it really wants to move. Then I'm going to wait till just the right time and pull it into a thread of the right diameter for a cigar detail with. There it is. I'll show you close up. So this was a dark, transparent purple over white. And how did it end up looking? It looks like a pale purple. And when it's within the flower, the surface area, or the surface of the flower amidst the clear background is going to be hard to put your finger on, hard to focus your eye on. So it's going to look a little blurry. It's going to look soft. It's going to be design or a detail that imitates real life more than a hard line would. So if I was just using, say, a color that was a solid opaque color, the line between the clear and the color would be clearly defined. Here, the color begins in the transparent and then goes to the opaque. So, you get the idea. I'll talk about that in a moment. Alright, so, having seen me do that, I've done that also with the transparent yellow. I could do another one of those now, but you've seen it once, so that's good. And I'm going to use this for my stamen. I'm going to use this pale purple for my petals. And then I'm going to use some regular green 2-color stringer for my petioles. So let's start by getting a clear rod. This one is new, and it's got a cut end. That's what a cut end looks like. If you've ever heard me talk about cut end, those are nicer to melt. Here's a ground end, and that's going to look like crap. When I start to melt it, I'm going to have to peel a lot of that off. Let's do that. To the crappy end. It would be wonderfully crappy to uncrap this rod. I'm heating it up and I see the corners start to soften and pull into the rod. That's when I know I can really start heating it strongly. In the orange portion of the flame, I'll heat it very hot. I'll put it in the magnifying glass. See if you can see the white frothy stuff from that cut, that ground end. It's hard to see with the monocular vision of a camera. When you have 2 cameras in your eyes, focusing on it twice really stands out. So, a lot of times when you see me pick stuff off, it happens pretty fast. You can spend a lot of time on it. The key is, when you're working with glass, is when it's hot, you can go fast. When it's cooler, you're going to have to struggle and fight with it and take forever. So, when it's hot like that, and drips, you get a little more time to work. And you make a bigger impression with your tools and any action you take with it. So you can go quickly, you can be more decisive and forceful if you know what you want to do. And that's really cool. So you get, this glass, you can do a lot with it. Bend it around. I just ruined that, but I wanted to show you how squishy it was. Let's get it hot again. Get our gather nice again. Alright, so the basics of the flour. It's going to be sort of an inside out. I'm going to turn a disc inside out and bloom that flour from a two-dimensional cross-section into a three-dimensional flour. First thing I'm going to do is, once I get a gather on the end of this like a ball, I'm going to let it flatten on a flat plate. But I'm also going to come in with a paddle, and once it starts pushing out into a disc, I'm going to add to its disc shape diameter by pushing down from above. So this is how it looks when I just push down, and then I get a couple seconds to push it down a little bit farther. It's a little bit flatter, and it's a little bit bigger, and it gives me more space to draw. So I'm going to put in those little yellow stamen right in the middle. Then I'll show you that. There they are. Little dots. Let's see if the camera will focus for us. No. Let's see if it'll focus for us. Ah, there we go. Now, I'm going to heat that so it doesn't get too cold. Cold is a relative term when you're working with glass. I want this stuff to stay, relatively hot, like 1500 degrees. So it's just about ready to start moving. With gravity, if I were to stop it from spinning. If it's colder than that, it's going to get very frozen and not want to move. And then this old style glass will crack. It started to melt in those little stamen. Now I'm going to add my petals. So these are mostly white with a little bit of purple. Draw them on as little dashes in the center. Then I'm going to make some more 3D shapes for the outside row. To get a little more excitement to the shape of the bloom. I'll just melt in all my little fuzzy ends. You guys can see all the little funny squiggle petal shapes I added outside of the stamen that I did first. I'm going to get those a little bit hot so that they're glowing orange, and then I'm going to get a few of them really hot. Just persuade them to be pointy. I'm not going to make them pointy, but I'm going to start them on their path with just a suggestion, saying, hey, later, remember this thing I'm doing? Maybe point. I'm going to be like, yeah, we remember that. Got to make sure that we bloom the right way, though. And how we're going to do that is, once I've done giving them that little persuasion, that little starting pointiness, like poking in gently with this tool. I'm going to melt all those little dots into the surface a little bit more, and then instead of holding this level, I'm going to start to tip it up like this. That disc shape is going to start to, it's going to start to cup down like this, and then I'm going to push it flat on the marble. But all that design, like in the palm of my hand, is going to start contracting. So this design, which takes up the whole disc, we're going to cup it and then push it flat. And the design in the middle is going to shrink a little bit and go up in towards the rod. So I've taken the glass as it's cupped, pushed it around and up into that. And now the design is just a hair smaller. Let's do it again. Cupping and pushing. Other people have different names for it, probably. They're wrong. I'm telling you my way, which is it doesn't matter. Just call it whatever you like. I'm just trying to be descriptive. So I let it cup a little bit and I pushed it flat again. One more time. I'm going to show you guys. It's even smaller. You can see from the side that flower is starting to come up. Now I have a little space on the edge of the disc. I'm going to get in there with my green and draw on the petioles, those little green petals that surround the bloom of the flower. Since I was yapping here and I've got this pretty hot, you can see how orange it is. I'm going to cup and push it one more time. Let's turn the flame down so I can get in a little tiny green thread that I've pulled and melt it right where I want without melting my whole flower and messing it up. So put in the little petiole all the way around the outside. Let's now cup and push it and start contracting that design in the center, smaller and smaller, and bring it up this way into that disc that we've made. Normally, I'll contract that design disc until it gets down to about, pretty small, like a 1/4 inch across. This time, when I do that and get it to a 1/4 inch across, I'm going to clean up that end. A lot of times I'll cover that end with like a design of the backdrop that I want the marble to sit on. That's more composing the marble, which I would say. So this time, I don't want to compose the whole picture. I just want to do the flower. See what that looks like. It would be cool to see it all from the back. Because if it's sitting on something opaque, covering that little dot, you can't see from the back. You can see things peeking around the back, but not the whole back. It's nice to change things up too. You do something a certain way for a while. I'm going to pull it apart in my mind and focus on a different area. And so you see me here, I'll do one marble, but when it's just me working here, I'll do 6 or 7 marbles of the same kind, messing around with small parts. Sometimes I'm just like, I really need to make some of these marbles of this type because I need some of those for my display. So I'll do that. I'm still fiddling with the little tiny design elements. So now I've cupped and pushed this a couple times, and you can really, let's get the camera to focus and let's settle down for a second. You can see the flower has bloomed, and the design on the end is shrunk way down. So right now I'm going to make this end less disc-shaped and more hemisphere-shaped. As I go, when I cup and I push it, I'm going to let it start to become more hemispherical and less disc-like. Because I've turned the outside up around to the this unattached polar region about as much as I can to make the flower look the way I want it to do. So now I just want to sort of pull the disc into the hemisphere shape. I'm doing a little bit of letting some of the outside slide down towards that unattached pole. So sun's coming here, but I'm not really actively cupping and pushing it and turning it inside out because I got the bloom how I like. And that last bit design is pretty small. Let's see, my flower is doing pretty nicely. It's a little less hot. I might be able to see better. See, it's becoming hemisphere shaped. Get a little steel rod here. You could use a glass rod here if you'd like. Just to make an attachment point into that portion of the marble. The end of the flower is. I'm just going to pull the tip out a little bit. At the end of the flower where it's messy. And it gently. Now it's a point. I'm just going to grab it with my pliers. Tweezers. Small pliers are tweezers. Pull away some of the glass. That's making my flower look a little uneven, a little messy. I'm not pulling it straight out. I'm not pulling it all at once. Just going a little bit at a time, getting a little bit better each tiny pull, rather than trying to do it all at once. I might actually ruin some of my work there at the end. Go slow, gently persuading it to remain a flower while I mess around a bit on the outside. One of the things I like about putting a back on it is also it changes the way you see the flower. So this one will have a different overall look because it doesn't have something pushing from it up the back. It's okay. Different stuff is good. It's fun to see. When you do two things, you can look at both and you're aware of the two different things that you did, then that helps you decide all that middle ground where you could do something to slightly alter your design, or you wanted the petals to look different, or you wanted layers of petals to be closer or farther apart between each other, you want the petal to look the flower a little more round, you want it to be more triangular. All these things you can do. And that comes from just doing it and observing and remembering. And I'm just going to put a glass handle on the end of this and then melt off this large rod. And my flower is looking very, very delicate. Just the way I wanted it. Petals come up pretty far. This is that initial poking that I did. And the stamen is still down inside the flowers. So here's the flour. There's some glass on the top. It's keeping it from being a sphere. So I could smush it into a sphere, but some of this glass does not need to be there because I want the flour to be closer to the top of the marble. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that clear off of there. Some people might say, oh, you're pulling a lot off there. To which I say, I thought I pulled off just the right amount. We'll see. I'm using some hemispherical graphite molds just to gently shape the marble. I go into one of the hemispheres, which is with the diameter that's bigger than the marble. Just a little light pressure and turning, get a little more spherical. Then I'll go into a smaller one and use just the rim of that hemisphere. And as I'm using that rim, turning the marble, changing the axis of rotation, and that rim is shaping the whole piece of glass into a more spherical shape. If I was pushing hard, I'd be indenting it with that sharp edge of the mold. So I am being very gentle with it. There's my flour. You see the stamen, insides of the petals, the side of the flower. So let's just let the flame, my rotation, surface tension of the glass as it's hovering between solid and liquid, pull itself smooth. It's hot, it wants to change shape as it cools, solidifying, and keeping it level, not up or down, keeping it turning. So I'm letting it harden into a sphere. The shape towards the handle of glass that's attached to the bottom petioles right now. It's not a perfect sphere. This front edge is pretty nice. I'm going to get another glass handle on there, on that front. Shape it to a pencil point. That little tip hot. The marble warm. Touch them together when they're just the right temperature. And melt off this whole handle. Left a little bit of glass on there on the handle, which is good. I want to pull off that glass that's on the handle. And now I want to take a little bit off the marble itself without pulling it out of shape. Now I'm going to heat it, let that last little nub of imperfection pull in a little bit, let it rest, adjust on its own. You can heat it strongly. Heat it too strongly, it's going to start oxidizing the surface. So it needs a little bit of help. So I'm going to go just a little in my marble mold. And we improved the sphere. Look at the ends being very clean. You can see all the way through the marble. That's nice. Now, with a marble this size, it's sort of right on the cusp of getting any advantage of putting it through a cherry wood mold. I'll show you what that is. So I have the paddle holes drilled in it. This is cherry wood. I can spin it on there, using the rim of that one. Change the axis of rotation as I'm spinning it. And I'm doing this left-handed, so this is not doing me any good right now. Bigger marbles, that's very helpful because it solidifies the surface and allows you to transfer that marble into the annealing oven without putting marks in the surface. So let's just let that harden on its own. Then I have this fireproof plate. Little divots for my marbles to go in. I'm going to put this in one of those little divots, chill that juncture, basically a cold joint, attaching this glass rod to that marble, tap it off. Then I'm going to pick up my torch and polish that last little nub off. Do that now. Just chilling the connection point. I tapped it off, came right off. Tapping any soot or loose bits off my torch, because I'm going to pick it up, point it down at the marble. I don't want stuff landing on my marble. I'm polishing that little nub. I'm not trying to do it all at once. I'm doing it just a little bit. Pause. Now I need to transfer the marble to my annealing oven. I'm going to use the tweezers like this that I made. Holding the marble gently, so they have to be the right temperature so they don't shock the glass. It's a little bit too hot. See how orange they are? I'll let those go down to black. I'll pick up our marble. Just a tiny marble. Okay. Let's flour them. And let's put it in the annealing oven. So that might be a standalone marble. Normally when I'm making a standalone marble, I put them on the little base. Here's one without the base that I made yesterday. There's a few. Here's one, kind of a repeat of the one that I just made. Let me see if I can hold it not like an idiot. I can see it. Let's turn this on. So there's the one we made just now, like it. This is pink instead of purple. And here's a little iris. Nice. So nothing on the back. And then here's a rose. It's got some different. If you look at the petals straight on, they've got a little curl to them. It's cute. And then these are going to be components for a bigger marble. They'll get mushed together. I mean, not mushed, they'll be persuaded to be a bigger one. That's fun to try. Get a few of those to come out nice every once in a while. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll post pictures of the marble that we made today on the Facebook group tomorrow. And I'll see you next time. Bye.